So, like you, I was scrolling around on Twitter, checking out videos of Nathan MacKinnon swimming in the hotel, and I came across this tweet that I thought was fake. I thought I was getting jebaited. Because Petey's Hairline, Canucks Enjoyer, posted this tweet of how Brad Marchand is apparently not impressed with this trade proposal with Elias Pettersson to Toronto. This is a funny one. Take a look at this image here. It's a trade proposal featuring Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks, posted by Lane Memeson on Instagram. The trade goes as follows. Vancouver would receive the 2026 first overall pick, a 2027 second round pick, and forward Matthew Knies. The Maple Leafs would receive Elias Pettersson and a 2026 fifth round pick. Obviously, this is a meme trade proposal. We're not going to go out there and say that Pettersson and a fifth is the same value as Matthew Knies and the first overall pick. Obviously, it's a meme. Obviously, it's a joke, right? And I thought it was even more of a joke when Petey's Hairline included this image in the post. A comment from Brad Marchand, 63? Terrible trade for Toronto? So, I went out there and I checked out NHL trade proposals posted by Lane Memeson. They've got a bunch of videos and pictures and memes and all that stuff. It's a pretty funny channel, I would say. And like it or not, this thing that we had spoken about with Brad Marchand is actually real. That's right, my friends. Brad Marchand has just given his opinion about this satire Elias Pettersson trade idea. Ha ha ha. Terrible trade for Toronto. I'm going to give that a like right here. Shout out to Brad Marchand for interacting with the crap posting community on social media. Brad Marchand, of course, I mean, he is one of the older guys in the NHL these days, which is kind of weird to think about. I mean, he's 37 years old now. I remember when Brad Marchand was a rookie back in 2010, and when he was a force for the Boston Bruins as a rookie in the Stanley Cup Playoffs and the finals against the Canucks. Marchand, of course, was able to do a lot of really good work throughout the course of his NHL career. He became a 100-point scorer in 2019. He was consistently over a point per game, until he wasn't. And then this season, he was over a point per game again, 54 points in 52 games played. Not in the lineup as much as probably anybody would have wanted, but Marchand was still in and around the block. So seeing him interacting with stuff in the offseason, hypothetical Elias Pettersson trades, obviously that's really funny. But I also wanted to use this as an opportunity to dive into the potential of an EP40 move to Toronto. Because, as Brian Burke spoke about a few days ago on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, some team is going to trade for Elias Pettersson. Somebody is going to make that mistake, quote unquote. And if Toronto is the team to do it, I wonder what exactly needs to happen for that inevitability to come. I'm thinking about it like this. If the Toronto Maple Leafs end up losing out on a guy like Austin Matthews, he demands his way out, the Maple Leafs are not able to get a center in return. Could they do the old Patrick Allvin, JT Miller, Bo Horvat thing where they trade a guy away for stuff, and then they use that stuff in another trade to get another guy who technically replaces the guy that they traded away in the first place? Vancouver did that when they traded Bo Horvat. They needed defense, so it's like, okay, well, let's get Filip Hronek. We'll trade that first-round pick over to Detroit and get Filip Hronek in exchange. Same thing with JT Miller. They traded the pick for Marcus Pettersson. I get that it's not necessarily the same thing, but if you wanted to say, hey, the Leafs would need a center, maybe Petey could be your guy. Who really knows? I'd say the market pressure would be such an intriguing element to the future of Elias Pettersson and his career. You think about the way he has responded to the media, how he seemed kind of relaxed and just himself and free and saying jokes and making these things known in the media like the death stare and whatnot, to him being so beloved by everybody in the city when he was so good, and then all the criticism that came afterwards because of his slowing down of production, and then inevitably the feud with JT Miller, and then everybody kind of realized, hey, maybe this guy isn't really having a fun time, so maybe we shouldn't be dogging on him all too much. And then it was like, wait a minute, he's making $11.6 million a year. It's been a really up and down public opinion for Elias Pettersson in the city of Vancouver, and going over to a brand new team, even if that team has a crazy fan media reputation like the Toronto Maple Leafs, I do wonder if that reset is what Elias Pettersson needs to actually make things work for him mentally once more. By all accounts, Pettersson is a fine teammate. He's good in the room. Maybe not the biggest leader, but he's quiet. He keeps to himself and he just does his own thing. He doesn't start up any ruckuses. So, for what it's worth, I would assume that Pettersson is actually a guy that would be okay in most NHL locker rooms. But if you think about what a trade could look like as well, obviously this is the big idea. What could the Toronto Maple Leafs send over to Vancouver to make a Pettersson trade work? Honestly, you gotta give a first-round pick. I'd say that the Canucks are not going to be interested in doing a trade without it. Also, Vancouver would not be willing to retain salary. At least that's what it was like under Alvin. Who knows what Evan Gold or Ryan Johnson or whomever else would think about in regards to retaining salary. The first overall pick? Hell no. That's not coming over to Vancouver. As much as I would love to see Gavin McKenna and Caleb Malhotra in a Vancouver Canucks sweater. Heck, they could make the Hronek trade with San Jose, get 1, 2, and 3. Get McKenna, get Stenberg, and then Malhotra. That's an entire line right there. Ultimately, though, Pettersson for the first overall pick is not happening. Matthew Knies is also not going to be coming over to Vancouver. I'd say that just in isolation, Knies is too valuable right now. He's young, he is signed, he is cost-controlled, and he produces more. 66 points in 79 games played as a winger. I get that Pettersson's a center, and a good defensive one at that, but still, Knies is a better player. So, obviously you're not looking at that sort of a trade idea as fair in any respect. I just find it kind of funny that Brad Marchand literally came on here and started talking about it on social media. We need more NHL players chipping in with their thoughts on trade ideas and trade proposals, especially the ones posted by meme Instagram accounts like, Lane Memeson. They're absolutely a meme account, and I love the work that they do. They say Lane Hudson 48 is my Pookie, so obviously there is a pretty interesting agenda there. With that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the hypothetical trade idea of Pettersson over to the Maple Leafs for the first overall pick, Matthew Knies, and a second? What are your thoughts on Brad Marchand responding? And do you think there's a trade with the Leafs that actually works for EP40? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.